Welcome back to the Purple Politics Podcast. I'm your host, Ben.
And I'm Rick.
And it's that time of the week when Rick and I sit down to go through the headlines.
In the current media landscape, everything is printed in red or blue. Ben and I try to find the purple area between the lines.
We ask questions, apply logic, and discover what stories were written by the headline heroes.
Just like the news, we're not always right and we don't always agree, but we always look for some sort of common ground.
Let us know what you think. Leave us a comment or send an article you'd like us to discuss over at purplepoliticspodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or at Rick and Ben on Twitter. So she hates America, and now she wants to come back.
Yeah.
Hoda Muthana just can't make up her mind, I guess.
She needs to hold on and stay right where she is.
Hold on. So this week, or recently, Hoda Muthana is in the news because she's being told that she's not allowed to come back to America because her birth certificate is in question. Now, for people who don't know, Hoda Muthana, when she was 19, I forget how many years ago it was, long enough for her to marry 3 ISIS men
and bear children.
She left the country to go join ISIS, marry, and be part of the
ISIS movement.
She has decided that for the sake of her child, which I can totally appreciate, a child will change your thoughts on life. They did for me. I'm on a different path now because of children. But she decided that ISIS is not good for her children. She wants to come back. And the government's like, well, you're not an American citizen, so no.
Well, first off, her father is actually suing the Trump administration.
Yep.
So there's a lawsuit in process about her returning. But for me, this is real clean cut and right to the point. It's an act of treason to go join the opposition and fight against your country.
And now, before anybody jumps in right now and says, well, if it's an act of treason, then she's an American citizen. No, a foreign body can commit an act of treason on America.
Exactly, because I don't think people understand the definition of treason. I'm not sure I fully understand it, but I do know we have.
Yep, it's it's 18 U.S. code, whatever that squiggly mark is, 2381. And this comes from the Cornell website. Whoever, owing allegiance to the United States, levies war against them or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason and shall suffer death or shall be imprisoned not less than 5 years, fined under this title, but no less than $10,000, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. So, before we get into the treason and all this, let's get into how she may not be an American citizen. So, just like as we have our soldiers overseas and they have a child overseas, that child is an American citizen.
Correct.
They're not a citizen of Germany or Israel or wherever we're holding them.
Can't they have dual citizenship?
They can.
Yeah.
But it's not necessary because they are guaranteed an American citizen.
All right.
So what happened with her is her father was a diplomat from wherever she's from. I forget. I apologize. And according to his lawsuit, a month before she was born, he was no longer the diplomat anymore and was just here on American soil. I don't know if it was with a visa or if he was still finishing out his time. But because that month happened, he's saying that she is an American citizen. And I do want to go on record and say it has been brought up because I already know we're going to have comments that, oh, Trump's just denying this because of treason and the war and blah, blah, blah. It has been said that this was actually brought up when she left under Obama's administration. I'm not saying Obama did it, but his administration is the one that said she's not, her birth certificate is not valid.
Oh, well, I don't think she belongs here. And I have zero sympathy for anybody that leaves the United States and joins a terroristic organization and fights against any of the U.S. citizens or their allies. I mean, she tweeted some evil shit, So, I mean, I know you have the tweets over there. Do you want to read them?
No, you go right ahead.
This is what she tweeted. You have much to do while living under our greatest enemy. Enough of your sleeping. go on drive-bys, spill all of their blood, or rent a big truck and drive all over them, which actually happened.
That actually happened.
So my attitude is, fuck her and her fucking treasonous ass. Stay right where you're at. You made your bed, lie in it. You're a 19-year-old adult. You made a decision. Decisions have consequences. Just like any decision I make, you make, or anyone else makes. I don't care. Her father can sue whoever the hell he wants to sue. It doesn't change the fact that she left this country to join ISIS, to fight against our country and our allies. And now that it's not so rosy, years later, multiple marriages later, and a child or two later, she wants to come home because she came to her senses?
It's not just multiple marriages later. It's multiple marriages. The first two husbands died, I believe, in battle against us or one of our allies. So then she married another one. So there was enough for her to stay for 3. And then it's been reported that she witnessed and sat through and watched beheadings.
Yeah, fuck that.
But I'm going to say, bring her back. Bring her back. I know it's a waste of money to put her through court. Bring her back and then kill her. Actually be the first one to get the death penalty, because it has, as far as I know, at least in recent history, nobody's been put to death because of treason. But it's right there. You shall be put to death. Bring her back. Let her father get his daughter back and then kill her in front of him, just like they do to us. And I get that that's being petty, but...
Is it though? Is it really being petty?
No, but here's my favorite thing. All right. So she goes off. She watches people get beheaded. She does all those tweets. But then she says this now that she wants to come back. And this is from an interview with Richard Engel.
Win the case.
Do you think you'll be able to go back to the United States? Do you want to go to the United States?
I prefer America other than anywhere else. Yeah.
Oh, you prefer America now?
Oh, yeah. Now that all the options have dried up, I say sit where you are and fucking rot. That's what I say.
I think I just switched my stance. I think I agree with you. You know what? Stay in that little tent that you just did your interview in.
Yeah.
And it actually looked like a nice tent. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
She's doing pretty well for the tent, so.
Well, maybe they should poke some holes in the tent. I wouldn't lift a fucking finger to make her life anywhere near more comfortable, but I would definitely lift a finger to make her life more uncomfortable.
All right, I was going to go right on to the next thing, but this thought just popped into my mind because I have this horrible soft spot for children. What are your thoughts on leaving her there, but allowing her son to come live with his grandparents? Now, I know we run the risk of having him come back and be mad at America, but at the same time, I don't know, he didn't choose his life.
Well, I'm not down for the child to be punished.
I
don't care if she fucking rots in a ditch somewhere. If the grandparents want to take custody, bring him here to the U.S., him or her, file the proper paperwork, do everything legal like it's supposed to be done. I have zero issues with that. Her, on the other hand, she could fucking rot in a ditch over there.
I agree.
I could care less.
I agree. My whole point of wanting her back was I felt bad for this child.
Yeah. Well,
So-
you know what? My heart goes out to the child because
Yep.
his mother's a douchebag. Okay?
Yeah, that happens.
So you know what? If the grandparents want to bring the child over, I have zero issues with that. As far as her, fuck her. She can stay where she is. She can rot. I keep saying it because I mean it. And you know what? There's not one listener or one person in my life that's going to change my mind on this. She's a scumbag traitor that joined ISIS to kill American lives and even called for it. So my attitude is,
And people followed her. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if they actually followed her words, but they did what she said to do.
yeah. So you know what? Fuck off. I'm cursing a little bit today. I'm a little wound up apparently. But you know what? I have zero tolerance for treason or people that commit treason. I don't even want to fucking hear it. I don't want to hear her father's lawsuit. I think it's bullshit. I don't care if she's an American citizen. The minute she joined ISIS, she's not an American citizen no more. She committed an act of treason. All bets are off. She could die in a mud puddle, face down, ass up, and I wouldn't care.
Oh, I wish I had the rights to that song.
Yeah.
All right, let's calm Rick down with some emergency discussion. So this week, President Trump declared, last week, he declared a national emergency to bypass the Congress BS. He's trying to divert funds to build the wall. Now, this declaration, I guess, would allow him to take $3.6 billion from the Pentagon's military construction fund, on top of the $1.3 billion appropriated from Congress and the $3.1 billion that he's planning on moving between his administration and other things. Now, are we facing an emergency?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. You and I talk about the border all the time, and we say that it is a problem and immigration needs to be fixed. It is not an emergency.
All these funds here could be put to better use with better ideas, not just the steel barrier, a friggin' picket fence, a concrete wall, whatever you want to call it. I think go high tech on this, get modern at the border, and you know what? Fight it that way. Hire more people, create some jobs with it. You know, you want to secure the border? I have no problem with that. You want to waste money on a wall in areas where we don't need a wall? I have an issue with that. You need to repair walls where we need walls? I have no issue with that.
Right.
So I just don't see the emergency. I see this as a dick measuring contest between him and Pelosi. I'll give you $1, or I want $6 billion. I'm not giving you nothing. Well, I'll take it. This is a thumb in the eye to Pelosi, and why our elected officials keep playing these games and wasting taxpayers' time and money on this bullshit is just insane. It's a vicious cycle. It doesn't stop.
Well, before we get too far into this, let's let the listeners hear what he's claiming. So if you missed his speech, here's just a couple seconds of what he thinks is going on.
We're talking about an invasion of our country with drugs, with human traffickers, with all types of criminals and gangs.
All right, so he's saying they're invading our country with drugs, they're human traffickers, and there's criminals and gangs, all of which...
It's true.
They're true.
All three are true.
And they are issues.
Yeah.
But as somebody who works in logistics,
yeah,
all right, and I do not transport narcotics, but...
Just illegal aliens.
Just illegal aliens. But if I want to get drugs into the country, all right, am I going to pack 100 pounds on some poor migrant, send them across the border, which may get picked up, they may get murdered, it may get stolen, or am I going to take 40,000 pounds of that cocaine, hide it in a trailer, surround my trailer with stuff that the dogs can't sniff through, and drive it through the border, through the ports that need to be upgraded technologically, like you said.
Desperately.
Because, you know what? I may lose 40,000 pounds of cocaine, but I've just gotten 1 million pounds through on the other trucks that I sent, because there is so many trucks going through. They cannot check every one.
Right.
So you have to make it look... All they have to do is just make it look like an inconspicuous truck. So it can't be too nice and it can't be too shot. It has to be of a named company.
Yeah, it's got to blend. It's just got to blend.
But once it blends in, they're right across the border.
But
and the same goes for the sex trafficking.
Oh, absolutely.
The gangs, everything.
Listen, make no mistake, okay? All this stuff is smuggled in various ways, all right? So when you see statistics where a lot of this is caught at the port, that's because a lot of the concentrations at the port, and a bigger amount is passed through the port.
Right.
Because, like you just said, you can't put 100,000 pounds on the back of an immigrant. It's not going to happen.
I can pack it in a trailer.
Yeah, but I can pack it in a trailer. So, I think the port slows down the quantity, but there are still immigrants that are used as mules.
Oh, yeah.
Let's not make no mistake. That is true.
It happens.
But they're not coming through 100,000 at a clip with 40 pounds on their back.
It's not at an emergency status.
No.
I understand you guys want to cross the border. You take these drugs up your butt. I'll help you across the border.
Right.
We've all seen it in movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you brought up stats. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection statistics say that 90% of heroin seized along the border, 88% of cocaine, 87% of methamphetamine, and 80% of fentanyl in the first 11 months of last year was through legal crossing points.
Yeah, because that's where the bulk is going to come through.
Exactly.
It can't be denied. The same amount that they can't say that there's another 80 or 90% out there that they're not catching. It's almost physically impossible.
Right.
There would be such a train of people you'd be able to pick it up on a satellite.
It
You
would
know
be
what
bigger
I'm
than the
saying?
caravan with everybody carrying them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I
So,
apologize, listeners. I used air quotes around caravan.
Yeah, he loves them air quotes.
Love the air quotes that you guys can't
Matter of
see.
fact, you know what? Just to keep track of it for the rest of the podcast, every time he does it, you're going to hear me go, air quotes.
So, like I said, I don't think that it's a national emergency. And there's lawsuits out there right now. So, Josh Blackman told the Washington Examiner, we don't have plans for what's going to be built, where it's going to be built, what the source of the money will be utilized for. Until we know those things, I don't think any of these suits are ripe. All we have now is a proclamation. We don't have anything else. But what does that mean? Like, what are you planning?
Nothing. That's what that means.
They just, you should have a plan if you want the money.
Yeah. Or just give Rick and Ben a few $billion. Shit, I'll settle for the $1 Nancy wanted to give. She can send me $1.
And then there's a professor from Princeton, Kim Lang Sheppel. I hope I said your name right. She's brought up a problem with going after the president. Is usually the courts just take the president's side. They're not going to go down to the border and look around. They're going to go, you're saying this, we're going to go with the president. But her quote is, even the concrete people who are harmed, like those whose property are seized, courts tend to be differential to a presidential claim. The court is not going to go down to the border and put their binoculars and look for terrorists.
Right. Now, make no mistake, okay? Trump called how this is going to go.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he already knows. Listen, this is a chess match, all right?
Yep.
Now, let me go a little further with this, okay? Because everybody always gets their panties in a bunch when it comes to the president, all right? But this is what happens when you elect a real estate tycoon into a public office like the presidency. Okay, this guy's got a short game and he's got a long game. He's 10 moves ahead and he adjusts as he goes. Okay, so I'm not over here shining the guy. All right, but these real estate guys, they're vicious. That's why they win. That's why they make all this money.
Right.
They can be brutal at times.
They know how to play the game.
They know how to play the game. And I got news for you. You can make fun of them as much as you want, but guess what? They're playing right into his hand. So you know what? We're going to see how it's going to play out. They're not going to throw him out of office. They're not going to. Here's some things that I believe, and I'm going to say it today. All right. For one, they're not going to throw him out of office. For two, he's not going to be tried for collusion with Russia. Okay.
I agree.
3, somehow, some way, he's going to end up with some extra money for this wall, and it's only to be a fuck you to Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats.
Yeah.
That's all this is about.
I think the Supreme Court was his end game all along.
Oh yeah, because he has who he needs in there,
And that's that's exactly what he wants. He wants to get it there, and then have them vote on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But going back to
Absolutely.
like the sex trafficking and things, I only want to bring this up because it actually blew my mind. From January through June 31st, 2018, it tracked 35,000 potential victims through this anti-trafficking group, Polaris. And of those, nearly half were already U.S. legal permanent citizens.
Yeah,
So the people getting trafficked,
a lot of them are already here.
Exactly.
They're these kids that come up missing and exploited children, especially in certain areas. You know, these children, it doesn't matter if they're male or female, they're getting snatched up. There is a missing child problem in the United States, a missing person problem, and it is so under advertised. News doesn't cover it. It's big.
A1 was just talking today on my way here on NPR about the sex trafficking, and I forget what police jurisdiction, but they're trying to go after the sex traffickers instead of the prostitutes now. But if you think about how crazy that is, these sex traffickers bring them in, they make all the money off these girls, and the girls go out on the street. The Johns get sent to a class, and the girls get arrested.
Yeah.
They've been kidnapped since childhood.
Yeah.
The people are getting rich. The Johns aren't getting in trouble, and these poor girls who are forced to do it go to jail.
You know what? Make it legal, regulate it, and a lot of it goes away. I'm not saying I'm pro prostitution. I'm just saying there's one
a
solution. you know?
So the biggest problem with this emergency, say it, Rick.
Oh, the air quotes.
99.999, I can go on forever, percent of these immigrants are not enemies of America. They are people fleeing the cartels, fleeing the gangs, fleeing Venezuela's government.
Oh, the socialist government.
No, it's not because of socialism, right?
Well, socialism's so great, that's why everybody's on the Democrat side's beating the drum. But, what's funny is these caravans aren't heading towards Venezuela. They're heading away.
But they're not our enemies. They're trying to make a better life for themselves. Don't call this an emergency just because of that.
They're trying to get out of the shit.
Another thing that's being brought up is, okay, Trump gets to use this as an emergency. What if the Democrats want to use this for their agenda next time?
And they will. And
then we'll be Venezuela.
Yeah.
But for an example of emergencies in the past, in 1979, Carter passed the blocking. It was to block Iranian government property. He claimed an emergency, but that was in response to a U.S. embassy seizure in Tehran.
In kidnapping.
Yeah, it was right after the kidnappings. 2001, Bush did the declaration of national emergency by reason of certain terrorist attacks. Our buildings were just blown up.
Yeah.
With planes. And then he did another one right after that. People who threaten to commit, or support terrorism. I mean, those are true emergencies. Even if you want to get off of America. I believe it was Obama. He blocked property of certain persons contributing to the conflict in Central Africa. Now, this doesn't have to do with America. But I'm assuming we're buying their diamonds. I don't know if this is the diamond thing. But over there, these poor children were being turned into child soldiers. The gangs over there were threatening the surrounding areas. There's extreme violence. None of that is happening at our border.
No.
So you can go through the past 20-something emergencies in America, and you can't find like a really close example to what he's doing.
Right.
So I got to say, you're just playing games, Trump. He made a promise for the wall.
Yeah.
And this is going back to you bringing up his business aspects. He made a promise about the wall. So now if he doesn't come through with that promise, he failed.
Right.
In Trump's mindset, he's going to do whatever he has to do to win.
He's not going to fail.
He's not going to fail. So by doing the emergency, it's all probably totally legal. They're still working it out in the courts.
Yeah.
But he's going to find a way to win.
That's why it took him so long to do the national emergency. He had his legal team working on that thing night and day. That's why he waited and waited.
What better person to find a loophole?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to somebody who doesn't really like Trump too much. I can't say that. Bernie might like Trump, but Bernie decided that he was going to put in his hand for the presidential election in 2020.
So he's going to pretend to be a Democrat again?
So we're up to, funny you should say that. It's been noted that he may be too moderate for the Democrats. So where he was too far left when we were going after Trump, I don't want to say we were going after Trump because I didn't vote Democrat, but when everybody was going after Trump, he was looked at as too progressive.
Right.
Too radical.
Well, they're all adopting his ideas, and they're actually...
And saying that he's not going far enough now.
Right.
So, but yeah, he put his name in the hat. So what are we up to? 7,000 people going for president? Democratic?
Maybe a few more.
Maybe a few more?
Maybe a few more.
And anytime you guys want to just pick a couple that are... I will say this, though. He ended up raising in 24 hours $6 million.
Tell you, he's got some tug. The guy's got some tug. I don't think he was in a town hall meeting last night, I believe, and he was asked, why did you come back to the Democratic Party after what they did to you? I don't think he fully explained or answered the question, but I'm going to answer it for you because here's the real reason. Because we have a two-party system here, if you want any shot at the presidency, you better be under Republican or Democratic Party. They're not going to do a Green Party. They're not going to do an independent.
Well, it's because we've franchised politics.
Absolutely. That's the problem.
But at least in football, you have more than two teams.
Yeah, 100%. But, here's the other thing. The Democratic Party, in my opinion, is lost. They don't have an identity.
No.
They really don't.
They're too split up right now. Because
Yeah.
even the moderate Democrats are like, yeah, you people way over there on the left,
Yeah.
this is not good.
Yeah. No.
And I think that's what helped them out. I think a lot of people were put off by Hillary,
yeah.
and a lot of people are scared of socialism.
Yeah.
So they went to Trump. Those people are going to reconsider the Trump vote, and if they do, they're still afraid of the socialism, but now Bernie actually looks a little bit farther center than he did before.
Right. Well, he's a democratic socialist, which
Right.
is different than socialist.
In his defense, it is.
I was going to say, in his defense, it is.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think John Q. Public's afraid of socialism. I think the majority of the vote are afraid of it. And you know what? They keep pushing all this socialist shit with no way to legitimately pay for it other than, well, we got to tax the top 1%, 70% in your dreams. They're never going to let that happen. They have the money. They have the clout. That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
Okay? So at the end of the day, if the Democrats pick somebody who's very socialist, they're just going to hand the election right back to Trump. Okay? And it was said here first. If not, maybe it was said somewhere else and we're sucking.
we weren't listening to that program.
We weren't listening to that program. But believe me when I tell you, that will be the end result. Now, if Biden throws his hat in, okay?
Well, here's the thing about Bernie and Biden that's getting brought up, and I kind of do agree with it. Bernie's going to be 78 later this year, and that's before voting even takes place. Biden, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I believe he'll be 71 at election.
I think he might be a little older than that, but Trump is older than that.
Yeah, you're right.
You know? So, you know
what? I will say, going back to, you were asking why he would go back to the Democrats after what they did to him.
Yeah. Well, that's why, because you have to run under.
Well, guess what they're doing to him now?
What?
Whereas before he was like, I'm not a Democrat.
Right.
I'm running with the Democrats. I'm trying to become on the Democrat platform, but I'm still going to be a Democratic socialist or whatever I am. They decided this year that candidates who have officially announced their candidacy will have a week to return a signed copy of affirmation to the DNC. They have to say, I am a Democrat if they're going to try to run on the Democratic Party.
Now, here's the crazy part. What is a Democrat? What is a Democrat?
I think it's just a term. It's just a term now.
Yeah. So that doesn't mean shit to me.
But to me, it's just the DNC's like.
So what are they going to do? All right, he becomes president, and then he starts wailing on some wild socialist stuff. Or are they just going to be like, oh, you're not a Democrat no more? Well, guess what? He's still president.
Yeah.
Okay? So that doesn't mean shit. It means nothing. At the end of the day, it means nothing because the Democrats don't have a true identity.
No, they don't. I will agree with you. And to be honest, I think that's where another party is going to come from.
Yeah.
Is that either the Democrats are going to accept this extreme liberal bullshit and go with them, and then a moderate, it'll be Republicans, moderates, and Democrats.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what happens is the right's going farther right, the left is going farther left. And I got news for you. There's a shit ton of people in the middle. I'll air quote it right here. There's a shit ton of people in the middle that aren't far left and they're not far right. So what are they going to do? They're going to lean right before they go left.
Yeah.
All right. They're just going to.
Yep.
So if another party rears its head out of here, a moderate party, Moderates for America, there's one for you. And then all these people that are pretty much in the middle or 20 degrees to the left or the right, that's the party they're going to want to be in. It's going to be a three-way dog and pony show.
Yeah.
And trust me, the Republicans don't want that, and neither do the Dems. It's easy to defeat one. It's harder to beat two. That's why they want a two-party system.
Yeah. So let's get into some controversial stuff with Bernie. And it's hard to put Bernie and controversial in the same sentence, but...
Well, there's a few things here.
Well, he's been quoted as saying, how many yachts do billionaires need? How many cars do they need? Give us a break. You can't have it all. But he owns 3 houses. You know, one of them's worth $575,000. How many houses do you need? And I get that he has one in Washington. He has one in his Vermont, but there's still an extra one.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you look at it like that, you still have an extra one. I get that he needs 2. I will give you that. I get that you need 2. But if you're going to call out people with yachts, And who the fuck are you to say that guy can't have a yacht?
Exactly. He earned his money.
You know,
he earned his money. That's the bottom line. You
and
can't
people-
tell people how to spend their money.
People look at these billionaires and they're like, "How dare you have all that money?" Well, this is how us higher middle class people look at it. All right, they're not going to get rid of the money, so the money that you guys are going to get is going to come from me.
Right.
So you're going to bring my wealth down to your level.
That's
so
my problem.
That's what I'm, and I'll be afraid, I'll be honest. I'm afraid of that.
It's what's going to happen if they push this.
The billionaires will leave, and everybody's like, well, let them leave. The people will create. No, the billionaires will leave a company here.
Yeah.
They will live somewhere else.
Yeah, and these socialist asswipes are going to be like, well, who's going to pay for all the people that don't want to work now?
So,
idiots.
His healthcare plan, and this is something he totally admits, is billed to cost $32 trillion. Now, he wants to put an 8% across-the-board tax on people's salary, which even Bill Gates this week, he was calling out, I hate to talk about her again, but Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tax focus because, and he didn't have the balls to actually call out AOC. He was like, well, that proposal that's out there. He says that doesn't go after the right money because the billionaires aren't paying income tax because they're putting the money in other things.
Right. Well, what Bernie wants to do, and again, I watched the town hall and he was asked this question and he's going after the overseas money. Now he wants to be able to tell people they can't keep their money in certain banks outside the country. So, listen, they're grasping for straws. Okay. Do I think there should be health care for everybody? 100% I do. Okay.
Do I think it's feasible?
No, I legitimately don't until more people are actually working. And I don't mean at McDonald's for $15 an hour trying to raise 4 children and own a $150,000 home and drive a $30,000 car. That's not realistic. So, you got to get real with it first. Can you come up with some money? Yes, you can.
He also said, and here's a fact that, and I've never thought about it this way, but it's a good way to look at this one. So 3 billionaires now own more wealth than the bottom half of the country, which is 100% true. But let me trigger everybody.
Right.
All right. What a lot of people don't realize is that, and this is from a recent article in the Libertarian Republic, Federal Reserve data showed that combined net worth of U.S. households was negative below the 48th percentile, according to a 2017 report. So that means that 48% of the people, owe more than they earn.
Right.
Which also means that people like you and me that don't owe more than we earn because we've paid off our houses and our cars and stuff actually have more money than the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
we have more money
we have more money than the bottom 48% of the country just because we were able to pay off our bills.
Yeah.
If
your net worth is plus $1, you have more money than that 48%.
And
it doesn't equate to trillions of dollars like everybody thinks.
I have just enough money in my accounts to cover an emergency medical expense.
Yeah.
And not enough to take a trip to Hawaii, which my wife is not happy about. But that's just to make a point. I don't want to flaunt around how much money I have or how much money I don't owe. But I don't have a lot of money, and I am wealthier than the bottom 48.
Now, let's put this into perspective. How many times have you gone without to pay things off? So
you're
not drowning in debt.
I'm going to bring it up in a minute. Bad life choices. So something that Bernie says is half the older workers have no savings as they face retirement. That's bad life choices. People forget that every move is a choice.
Yes.
Even if you are held down drastically based on whatever BS you're blaming your life on, you made choices. I've gone from eating only crackers and leftover Wendy's to where I am today. I mean, just by focusing, and like I said earlier in the episode, kids changed my life. I did not want my kid to starve. So I started taking jobs that I hated. Great companies. All right. I've worked for great companies. And really, I've only worked for 2 since I've had children. Both are great companies. I love the one I'm at now, and I can't do anything but thank the last one I was at. I don't need to name them because I don't need them pissed off at me, especially the last one because I just quit. But they are wonderful people. I love everybody I work with now, and I love everybody that I just left. Great companies. It is not what I wanted to do with my life. But you know what? They don't call it fun. Right. They call it work. I chose to work to make a living for my children, and then I chased the money. Chase the money. Because if you chase the money, it'll help make you happy. McDonald's was not going to support my life. Wendy's was not going to support my life. Working at a grocery store was not going to support my life. It wasn't going to support my kids. I knew that. So I went and I broke my ass getting these jobs. And now I'm gone 5 days a week. I don't see my family 5 days a week.
That's hard, man.
You know?
I've worked out of town. I know what it's like.
But it's like, I mean, we've been swearing all podcast. But you know what? We'd probably be strung up if we told everybody they had to sacrifice.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, you know, when you think about it, how lovely would life be? I love how these politicians paint this rosy picture. Oh, you can work 15 hours a week, have that house you dreamed of, that car, go buy whatever you want. That's not how life works.
Which, at some point, we're going to have to figure that out, and this is for another episode. But that's where we're headed. Yeah. We're headed to no jobs because it costs too much to hire people. Yeah. That companies innovate and hire less people. Yeah. Go to any retail store, or not retail store, but I don't want to say their names. But you go in there, there's no cashiers. You're now your own cashier.
You're checking your shit out yourself.
It's just ridiculous.
There's a reason for it.
But at the same time, it's inevitable. It's scary. It's for another podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Automation, you're going to force it.
So I spend a lot of time bashing Democratic socialists because I don't like their agendas. But I do have to bring something up because it's going to be brought up again, and it has been brought up. There's a video from the 80s of Bernie loving Castro and Cuba and all that stuff. It's a bit long. It's like 27 seconds long, but I'm going to let you listen to exactly what he says.
And everybody was totally convinced that Castro was the worst guy in the world, that all the Cuban people were going to rise up in rebellion against Fidel Castro. They had forgot that he educated their kids, gave them health care, totally transformed the society. You know, not to say that Fidel Castro or Cuba are perfect. They are certainly not. But just because Ronald Reagan dislikes these people does not mean to say that the people in their own nations feel the same way. So they expected this tremendous uprising in Cuba. It never came.
So this came up in the Hillary-Bernie fiasco as him saying that Cuba was a great country, blah, 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 blah. There's nothing wrong with Cuba. He says right in there that he's not saying that Cuba's perfect. All right. But everybody points to this as his way of not understanding where Cuba was going. And I'm going to take his defense and say, no, he's able to realize that they had some good programs, and they still have some good programs. Like we were talking about prescription drugs the other day.
Yeah.
So there can be good in these socialist countries and socialized programs. But when dealt with corrupt leaders, they lead to corrupt things.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to point out a quote by Churchill before Hitler became the ugly face of history that he is remembered for. Churchill, we all remember Churchill from history, he described him as a highly competent, with an agreeable manner, a disarming smile, and few have been unaffected by his subtle personal magnetism. Now, even if you're just trying to say something nice about somebody you don't like, Hitler is not that guy.
Right.
So my point with that is, I'm not trying to say that Hitler did anything good, which it's arguable because some good things came out of Germany.
Right.
But you don't know until it's over.
Right.
Mussolini was different when he started. You don't know until it's over. And then the one thing that he points out is that, yes, we may not like socialism, but sometimes these countries are in such a rut that just because we don't like the country, and maybe we even see where this country is going, maybe their people like it. So when this video comes up to bash Bernie, you can't just take it as a pro-Cuba, because he even says right in there, and this is back in 83, or I think it was 83.
Yeah.
He even says, I'm not saying Cuba's perfect, but then it gets thrown around the media because they're all headline heroes that, oh, Bernie wants to turn us into Cuba.
Yeah.
Which I totally don't believe.
Right. No, I don't think that either.
And I honestly 100% that Mr. Sanders, and I'm trying to be as respectful as possible, wants the best for all of us. If I have to look at everybody out there right now, the one person I think really wants the best for everybody,
I think he's genuine,
would be Bernie.
Yeah.
Beyond Ocasio, definitely not Trump. Cory Booker.
Yeah, he's just riding the train.
Kamala Harris. I think Bernie honestly wants the best for everybody.
Yeah.
Heartfelt everything.
Yeah. You know what? He just doesn't know how to pay for it. I believe him.
And that's my biggest problem with all that stuff.
I believe him when he says, I want public schools, public colleges to be free, tuition free. I believe he wants everybody to have health care. And you know what? In a perfect world, our children shouldn't be paying for college like other countries.
That's our thing. We agree with him.
Yeah.
We just don't understand how they want to get there without causing all the problems that we've seen throughout the world.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so until there's an answer, it's a pipe dream. And don't be sucked in by a pipe dream of everybody wants utopia, okay? But it's a long ways away.
Oh, yeah. So who definitely doesn't care about all the people?
Fucking Cuomo.
That's right. Fucking Cuomo. That's even what I named it in the notes. Fucking Cuomo. So Rick and I hate lobbyists.
Yeah.
We find them ridiculous, but Cuomo has just gone a little too far with his lobbying bill, I believe. We'll see what Rick says in a minute. But he has decided that these grassroots organizations who get like dollar donations from mom and pop up the road, from Rick and I, Larry Sharp, but they get a little bit of money. It covers like stamps and paper and stupid stuff. He wants to require these grassroots organizations to register as lobbyists if they do over $500.
Yeah, that's a little ridiculous.
Already I believe it's over 5,000, but lobbyists get paid.
Yeah.
Like they're getting paid, and then they're basically paying off our officials. These guys are paying off the post office.
Yeah, it's a money train. These guys are not lobbyists, these people.
But in doing my research, and this is a total Cuomo thing, and I tried to find the article that I'm basing this off of, and I apologize because I couldn't find it. But it's just Cuomo going after the people who went against him in the previous election. He's trying to attack the grassroots movements that backed Cynthia Nixon. So those grassroots movements got their money through local funding. They didn't make it up to 5,000, so they weren't lobbyists. But now
he's keeping score.
So, and just like the last election, I wish I could find that damn article. I had it, and I don't know where it is now. But right after the election last time, he went after another group that pissed him off. So this is just par for the course for Cuomo. Yet you fucking assholes keep voting him in. And then you vote him in, and then he does something stupid, and then you're like, fuck Cuomo, and then you're like, oh, well, we're not going to vote Republican.
Yeah.
And God forbid we vote for a third party like the Libertarian Party.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll vote for Cuomo.
Yeah.
I would have rather had Cynthia Nixon.
Yeah. You know what's funny is one thing I do like about the Libertarians is they don't push their beliefs on anybody. Do what you do as long as you don't harm others. And these other parties, they're freight trains. You're on the tracks, they're going to run you the fuck over.
Yeah. His senior advisor was like, it's not just lobbying reform. It's lobbying reform, campaign finance reform, independent expenditure reform, voting reform, procurement reform. No, all it is you're trying to sneak in a small little thing to fuck over somebody that pissed you off into a lot of other proposals and hope that people are like, you know what, we'll just give it to them so we don't have to change this thing.
You know what's cool is, if you're just an honest stand-up person, you don't need all this bullshit.
Exactly.
It
I
just
like
shows you how crooked all this shit is.
I like what Senator Alexandra Biaggi said. She said, it should be the state taking money out of politics, not to remove the voice of the people from the government.
Right.
So I 100% agree with her. Another set of people that are getting screwed over, the people that are getting sick from 9/11.
This is bullshit, Ben.
I agree. Now, I think when we first started, we picked on Jon Stewart for something because he is left-leaning, very left-leaning. But this time I'm 100%
I'm
behind him.
Yep, I would walk the halls with him for this. This is bullshit. These guys put their lives on the line after 9/11 and cleaned up all this shit, recovered bodies, put themselves on the line, and our government turns their fucking back to them. They make these guys lobby down there just to get the benefits so some of these people can still stay alive.
I know.
That's
ridiculous.
insane. If that's not spitting in your face, the greatest American tragedy we ever had, more people died in 9/11 in them towers than they did when Pearl Harbor got bombed. Look at the war that kicked off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So now you're going to take these people and turn your back on them and say, well, maybe we're just going to pay a little less.
All right. So Jon Stewart and demolition supervisor John Field, they went to Washington to advocate for the passage of the Never Forget Heroes permanent authorization of September 11th Victim Compensation Fund. So it hasn't been shot down. I haven't heard anything negative about it. It's supposed to be bipartisan. But the fact that we even have to have a bill that says that we're going to pay for these people is utterly ridiculous.
It's disgusting.
Ridiculous.
It's disgusting.
I mean,
this guy's made over 300 trips down there.
Yep.
Trying to keep this thing going. Why? You know what? You want to be a good news outlet? CNN, Fox News, get on board with this. If you're true patriots and you want to help your country like you both say you do, and you want it to be a better place, get on this, man.
Do you know what the problem with this story is, Rick?
There's no money in it. There's no drama.
That's it. There's no argument in it.
Yeah.
Because there is no arguing this.
Right.
And that's why it's not in the news. So if it fails, then maybe it will be in the news.
Yeah.
So hopefully it passes. Everybody get on with your representative and make sure it passes because these people deserve everything. And it's not everything that they get. It's everything that they fucking need.
Right. Yeah. It's not what they get. It's what they need.
So lastly, we got a headline hero this week. And this came from a USA Today article, but it wasn't USA Today. Okay. It's the people behind the Democrats, basically. The National Rifle Association is facing criticism over a story in the March issue of American Rifleman because it had the headline, quote, target practice,
air quotes,
next to an image of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Gabriel Giffords, and here's where a big part of the controversy comes from. She was shot while meeting constituents in 2011. So it has the words target practice and it has a bunch of Democrats up there. And so people immediately went to Twitter and they were like, Christine Pelosi wrote, that's Nancy Pelosi's daughter, we must condemn this intentional outrage, criminal incitement. We cannot allow this hate speech to stop common sense gun violence prevention. And then Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut said, newsflash, they know exactly what they're doing here. Now, both these people are suggesting that the March issue of American Rifleman is suggesting that we use Nancy Pelosi, Gabriel Giffords as targets for target practice. That is what they're suggesting. But if you look at the picture and you unfold it, it's a 2-page thing. On the left, it says target practice. On the right is the representatives. But right under the words target practice, in little letters, it goes on to say that this is about the Democrats targeting the NRA. The Democrats are using the NRA as target practice. So it's saying the exact opposite of what you guys are trying to promote.
Fucking clowns. Not the NRA. I'm not calling them clowns. Just listen.
But we live in a time where we don't use context anymore.
No.
So they
They read one line and then they're appalled, and they're not even sure why they're appalled.
But the people look at this and then they see target practice and then the people, and then they just stop and they just be outraged.
Yeah.
So when they promote it, they don't look at the words under. I looked.
Yeah.
I read it myself. It's not like it said it.
You know what's
in the
funny
article.
is it took her longer. Pelosi's daughter took her longer to write what she wrote. If it would have taken her half the time to read into the article and see that's not what it said.
But that wouldn't have benefited her.
No,
That
no.
wouldn't have fit her
Listen,
agenda.
They got to create fear and outrage.
But a best way to get rid of guns is to say that these gun magazines are threatening Democrats with guns.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's what they did. And Representative Dan Crenshaw of Texas, Republican of Texas, obviously, he wrote, and I love it, if your goal is to ensure that outrage culture is alive and well, continuing to divide us, congrats.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you did.
Yeah. Listen, there's an old saying, okay, and this rings true. It rang true on the last election, and it's going to, last presidential election, and it's going to ring true in this election. Divide and conquer. And that's exactly what they do. They divide us and they conquer and they get their way. When we unite, we are strong, strong, strong. But any society that's divided will fall.
Oh, we're more divided every day.
Yep. And that's what they want.
Well, that's our show. Find us on Facebook at Politically Purple. You can follow along on Twitter at Rick and Ben. That's where we usually do most of our tweeting and posting. You can find our website, purplepoliticspodcast.com. Leave a comment under any of the show notes. All of the links to the articles that we used in this episode will be in those show notes. And talk to you again next week.